This week we have episode 2 of our off-grid homestead barn build. We're going to be prepping and pouring concrete for the 20 by 52 foot slab. So let's get to it. This channel is all about building off-grid cabins and barns. If you like that kind of content, please help me grow the channel by subscribing and liking the video. Last time we completed forming up for the slab and compacting all the soil within the forms. So the next step is to install any electrical conduit. So here I'm installing 1.5 inch PVC pipe. So after our electrical conduit's installed, the next step is to bring in the gravel shooter truck. Here the idea is to leave the edges of the slab thick, about 10 to 12 inches thick, but to thin up the interior portions of the slab to about 4 inches thick. Now I'm not showing the next step here, but what you would do after getting the gravel rough graded would be to bring in a vibratory plate compactor and consolidate all that gravel within the forms. Many concrete slabs have a vapor barrier on top of the gravel layer to keep moisture from coming up through the ground into the concrete. For my case, I decided not to put in that moisture barrier. I don't think it'll be needed for a barn here. Be sure to follow your local building codes for slab reinforcement, vapor barrier, and other details. I'm just using a 4-inch grinder with a cutoff wheel to cut the rebar to length. Here I'm using 1/2-inch rebar on 3-foot centers. I'm also using reinforcing fibers in the concrete mix. And this will help reduce cracking, and also any cracks that do occur, it'll keep them tight and close together. So a pretty easy way to tie rebar is to buy these prefabricated wire ties that have loops on each end. They're about 4 or 5 inches long. And this little spinner tool is used to hook in those loops and a couple of twists, and the rebar is tied. So it makes a very fast and efficient way of tying a lot of rebar quickly. Now you can see around the perimeter of the slab I also added some bracing so that I could support the forms where they will not push out under the pressure of the concrete. And there are even some of these placed on the interior part of the slab. Now those, of course, are removed during the course of concrete placement once concrete is in that location.
because you can really see what he's doing, and he can lay it back and forth for us. Yeah.
Now a 20 by 52 foot slab would be very difficult to place and finish myself. So I found these concrete guys and they are excellent. Just a two-man crew and they did a really beautiful job and they're really professional and I really like working with these guys. We started the pour pretty early in the morning because this is still August and it's fairly hot in the afternoons. And we don't want the concrete drying out before we get the finish on it and get it protected from evaporation. This small vibratory screed really did a great job screeding the concrete. A little bit of bull floating and the finish was beautiful. Now on the corners of the slab, I'll have reinforced concrete knee walls. So I had to install the rebar for those walls while the concrete was still pretty fresh. There's additional rebar at the end of this wall because it's going to be a fairly heavy-duty structural connection to a timber that goes up and supports that sidewall. There in the back you can see that bull float. It's got a vibrator on it that's powered by a small DeWalt battery and it really does an excellent job. I think it only took these guys about 2.5 to 3 hours to get this concrete placed and screeded. And of course they stuck around for a while longer after some initial set and did the final finishing to the concrete. The last step, it's not shown here, but we covered the entire slab with cure and seal. So your options are to use a product like cure and seal or plastic sheeting in order to protect the concrete from drying out in the hot sun. If it dries out, you will get more cracking.